I'm Trent with Columbus Epoxy, and in this video, just want to go through one of the most important parts about what we do in the world of coatings, and that is kind of talking about prep and how it's measured. So the standard in our industry that we use is CSP, which is short for Concrete Surface Profile. That is going to be used as a standard to determine what is needed for different types of coatings. So for your CSP, you have numbers ranging from 1 to 10, 1 being the least amount of just being aggressive, all the way up to 10, which would be the most aggressive. Generally, the thinner the coating, such as like a sealer being on the thinnest end, you'll need a lower CSP. And then as you get up into thicker coatings, potentially being troweled down mortars, self-leveling materials, you're going to need a higher CSP just to simply make sure that it has the ability to properly bond to the surface. To go further into CSP, what it means is just the texture that is being created over the concrete surface. So if you think about, it's almost like when you're sanding a surface, the more aggressive the sandpaper, the more aggressive you're going to abrade the surface. You want to create a more textured profile to create a surface for your coating to bond to. So getting into the CSP, starting out in a range of 1 to 2, so your CSP of 1 to 2 is generally the requirement for much thinner mill systems. That's going to be like your concrete sealers, densifiers, maybe like a light stain, things of that nature. To achieve a CSP of 1 to 2, generally the go-to method is going to be acid etching. It's going to just, put a very, very light texture on the surface, and it's going to really kind of open up the porosity of the surface of the concrete. Getting into a CSP of 3 to 4, which is going to be more for your thinner mill coatings, maybe, kind of a medium millage on your coatings, like epoxies, polyureas, like your decorative flake systems that a lot of people are saying on the internet. You will use that CSP of 3 to 4. To achieve that 3 to 4 CSP, the most common go-to method is going to be diamond grinding. And some of that's going to be dependent on the diamonds that are used, but generally diamond grinding is going to achieve that. It's going to cut off the surface of the concrete. It's going to give a slight profile to allow that coating to bond to the surface. Finally, you really don't get much above this for, again, those thicker systems like your mortars, your self-leveling coatings. You're going to get into the 5 to 6 CSP range. And then to achieve that profile, you're going to use machines like a shot blaster or a scarifier. And then there's actually an attachment that we'll go over a little bit later. They're called bush hammers that you can put onto the bottom of your diamond grinder or your diamond grinding machine, and that will also help to achieve that profile as well. So now that we've talked about the CSP, again, this concrete surface profile, and how that can kind of translate into what methods are needed for your coating, now I want to talk about the hardness of the concrete and how that's going to dictate, what tooling and, diamonds you're going to use. So this is really more relevant if you're diamond grinding, but when you're working with concrete, you have different types of hardnesses. Concrete can be super soft, and it can go all the way up to being super hard if it's newer concrete potentially, and if it's got, densifier, things like that of it to make the surface harder. That is going to affect the diamond tooling that you use. It can help the productivity of the job, how effective you're prepping the concrete, and things of that nature. One common misconception or misunderstanding, if you're new to the industry and you're new to prepping with the diamond grinding equipment, is understanding the difference of using soft bond or hard bond diamonds for soft or hard concrete. If you have soft concrete, you're going to want to use a hard bond diamond, and if you have hard concrete, you're going to want to use a soft bond diamond. And the reason that is, and what the soft bond versus hard bond means in the diamonds is, if you have a soft bond, the metal is going to be softer and wear away quicker, exposing the diamonds. Because when you're grinding, it's obviously not the metal that's cutting the concrete, it's the diamonds. So if you use hard bond diamond on hard concrete, once the diamond's worn and the metal's harder, it's not going to allow new diamonds to be exposed, which is going to cut down your productivity on your surface prep, which just, takes a lot longer, and it's just a miserable experience. So it's important to use the right diamond tooling for the right concrete hardness. So now that we've kind of talked through that really quickly, I want to kind of show just some examples of some diamonds that I have here in front of me. Starting here, we have a softer bond diamond. This kind of tooling here we generally use for, it's more general use in how we use it. It's softer bond tooling. The diamonds are a little bit bigger in this, which is something else I want to quickly talk about. When you buy diamonds, you can also select the different sizes of grit. You can go 6 grit, 16 grit, 30, and so on and so forth. And then as you get into higher grits, now you're getting it almost polishing the concrete. But if you're trying to give a good textured profile, you can go more aggressive, like a 16 to 30 for most of your general use coatings, like your epoxies, your polyaspartics, like your decorative flake and things like that. That 16 to 30 grit is kind of a good range. That's where a lot of people start, and that does a good job of cutting off the surface of the concrete. So that's about what we have right here. And then I get over here, this is a medium bond diamond. Now this is actually a finer grit. This is a 120 grit diamond. We might use this if we're sealing the concrete. We want to take out those scratches in the concrete. So if we're using a thinner mill system, this is, a diamond like this is going to help to really tighten up that surface. And then lastly over here, we have a hard bond diamond. Again, you're going to want to use this on softer concrete just to simply keep the metal intact. It's gonna cut fine, and it's just going to help prolong the life of your diamonds, because if you go to use a soft bond diamond on soft concrete, you're going to wear through your tooling very quickly, and it gets to be expensive on the project. And then finally, as part of the tooling, I want to talk about this piece here. So this is going to be used for a much more aggressive profile. This that I have in front of me is a bush hammer. This will be used for a CSP of 5 to 6. Again, your heavier millage coatings like your trowel down systems, mortars, self-leveling urethanes, things like that. And what this tooling does is it goes onto the bottom of your grinder, kind of like the diamonds that I just showed. And then this head here rotates, pitting up the concrete. It can also be used to remove types of thinner millage coatings, things of that nature. And then again, it just creates a very aggressive texture on the surface that's going to allow those thicker coatings to bond. So now that we've kind of talked about the difference of the hard bond and soft bond diamonds and the tooling, I want to talk about a way that you can actually test the hardness of the concrete. That's going to be with this test kit right here. This is pretty common in our industry. This is called a MOHS hardness test. It's spelled MOHS. Again, just your MOHS hardness test. And it's basically uses a combination of picks here that you'll use to scratch the surface of the concrete. And the result, just from using those picks, will tell you how hard or soft the concrete surface is. So just want to quickly go over what you'll generally find in the test kit. So you've kind of got some, just paper over here that goes over what minerals, that they've tested and what the hardness of those minerals are. Just to give an example, down here you have kind of some test templates, I guess, that'll you can use to scratch and show how the test kit works. Like under here, we have a piece of glass, and then underneath there's a softer metal. And then they have the numbers on there to show what the test result was. And then the most important part of the test kit is we have the picks here. So starting off, these are going to be for your softer surfaces. And then depending on the manufacturer that you use for diamonds, sometimes they color code them, the diamonds that is, to go along with the picks. So like here we have red. This would be generally for like a softer bond diamond, and then medium, and then it gets harder as we go down. The way the test works is you will use, you'll start low and work the numbers up higher. So if you have a really soft surface, you might scratch it with the lower pick. But let's say you don't, you're using the pick and it doesn't scratch the surface at all. Well, then you'll keep moving the numbers up. Like here, you'll see you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then 8 and 9. So you'll keep working the numbers up until you scratch the surface. And then once you start to scratch the surface, that will tell you how hard the concrete is, or the surface that you're trying to abrade is. So to just kind of quickly demonstrate the test here, we're on a just a urethane cement pad that we did here in the shop. It falls between 6, 7, so we'll go ahead and just show here how it scratches it. So there's a couple staple machines that are in our industry that many folks use to get that, to achieve that concrete surface profile. What I have here in front of me is one of those machines. It is a shot blaster. This is an 8-inch self-propelled shot blaster. And the way this machine works is there's different sizes of steel shot. Smaller shot will generally achieve a finer profile, and you can go larger to achieve a more aggressive profile. But you put the steel shot in, there's a motor that turns the wheel that grabs the shot and flings at the concrete at a very high speed, which pits the concrete. It does a couple things that also helps to clean the surface as well. You'll see videos where guys might prep the concrete with a diamond grinder, and then they'll go back with a shot blaster with a very fine, again, just a very fine steel shot to kind of help clean the surface. So that can be done as well. And then we always pair that with a concrete vac as well. It has HEPA filters on it, just kind of helps to contain all the dust. And it also kind of helps to recycle that shot as well, because after the shot is thrown at the surface, it bounces off the concrete, and the vacuum, the suction kind of helps to pull that shot back up into the machine, and it kind of helps to recycle that shot as the machine continues to run. So the second most common piece of equipment that's generally used in the floor coating industry is the walk-behind diamond grinder. You have a couple different options. You can go with a rotary grinder where the heads are kind of stationary, but they're just obviously counter-rotating this way, or you can run with a planetary where the heads are, you'll generally have 3 or 4 heads that are rotating one way, and then they're on a bigger platform that's rotating the opposite way, so they're kind of counter-rotating. This here is a planetary machine, and you have diamonds that I have here that will go on the bottom of the machine. That will kind of dictate how well the machine cuts and how aggressive the profile may be. So that goes on the bottom of the machine. We pair this generally with a HEPA filter based dust vacuum, and that helps keep all the dust down while we're working, and it allows a cleaner working environment that's also safer for everybody. So we've kind of walked through everything. Again, it's just important to remember that prep for any floor coating installation is always going to be the most important part. So you can kind of use that standard of CSP, again, concrete surface profile, to help make sure that you're properly prepping the surface for your coating. We've kind of walked through everything, what diamonds that are, properly to use, whether it be soft or hard bond or somewhere in between. You could use a bush hammer. And then again, finally, you can test it with the MOHS Hardness test, and that's going to give you a good tool to use in the field for your crew to kind of help determine what's the best diamond to use for the concrete. I'm Trent with Columbus Epoxy. I appreciate you checking out this video, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.